So, hello again. Many thanks to Mr. Neil Chemo Edge for giving me the name The Man from Hildebrand, which I think is pretty cool. So, on that note, yes, please do head over to Hildebrand, the James Bond group, where we discuss all things James Bond. So, on this little video, I'm going to kind of sort of discuss something which I don't think's kind of been discussed, and it probably is a little bit negative, but there's always that kind of what if. Now, what we know so far is that obviously Amazon and Eon aren't quite seeing eye to eye through creative differences, but they are also working together on Chitty Chitty Bang Bang remake. Now, a director has been selected, a writer has been selected. If everything goes hunky-dory, I would probably say, realistically, you're probably looking at next year for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Now, with what I've believe is that, with what I've heard, is that basically they are doing Chitty Chitty Bang Bang together as a test run to see how they work, how Amazon and Eon can work, and if they work together on a film, then obviously it's all good news for Bond 26. However, you know, just so they may work fine on Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, they may not necessarily work fine on Bond 26. This would obviously, you know, delay things. Now, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is totally a kind of different ball game to Bond. Yes, it's written by Ian Fleming. Cubby Broccoli did produce the original film back in 1968. Eon made the stage musical in the early 2000s. So yeah, it is the same people, but Bond hits huge. You know, you've got 25 films, you've got a 60+ legacy. They are huge pictures, they are huge productions. You know, it's totally opposite to what Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is. You know, first of all, it's a children's movie, yeah, based on children, and it's a musical as well. And I should think the fan base for Chitty isn't quite as big as Bond, so you couldn't get a film to be any more opposite. But the question, and it's something which I don't think I've kind of seen, but you know, what would happen if, you know, all of a sudden Amazon's like, sorry, but you know, we can't work with you. Would there be a possibility that Amazon would then stick Eon, you know, their share of Bond up on the market for sale? This would probably be the first time since the mid-70s when Harry Saltzman's relationship with Cubby had broken down, and again Harry had to then sell his 50% share. So would they then put the Bond, you know, would Amazon then sell their share of Bond to another studio, such as, I don't know, it could probably go back to Sony, or it could be Warner Brothers, or probably Universal. Universal's probably the most sort of sensible one, because they have got the distribution rights to Bond until Bond 27. So, you know, there's that possibility. You know, could they sell, you know, the franchise? Now, I kind of think that Barbara has got the upper hand, because Amazon bought MGM because of Bond. You know, Bond was MGM's and still is MGM's asset. That is the golden goose. Amazon saw MGM, saw Bond, and thought, great, we're going to do so much with that. We're going to expand it, we're going to do spin-offs, we're going to go streaming, all this. Barbara, not happening. Bond is for cinema, theatrical release only. And I kind of get that, because they are absolutely fantastic films. They pretty much so much their own genre that other films have kind of spoofed them and copied them. But they are absolutely unique films, which, I say, it's got this huge, rich history. So yeah, and they are event films. You know, they are huge films. I mean, they, you know, cost loads of money to make. They make loads at the box office. They are massive productions. So yeah, I kind of get why Barbara wants to keep it, because they are special. Whereas, as much I'm kind of, you know, I would like spin-offs, you've got to do it carefully and wisely, because if you go, you know, thing, I mean, like Disney was, I mean, I like Star Wars, but what Disney have done, they've just totally kind of just diluted it. They've just flooded it. I mean, you know, some of the spin-off series haven't been great, so they haven't renewed the seasons. Some are okay, but it's just, you know, I think, you know, if you did The Mandalorian, brilliant, absolutely love that. Obi-Wan, fantastic, love that. After that, not so keen. For me, they've kind of just gone a bit more too far out. And the thing with Bond, you know, you've got to handle it, you know, really carefully. So I think, you know, Barbara's got the upper hand because she is in charge of the property which Amazon want. Now, you know, they could just say, okay, Barbara, Eon, we'll just leave you to it. That's the best way. Or would Amazon actually go to the point where they would actually do some you know, start sacking people just to accommodate Barbara? So yeah, I mean, there's kind of various kind of interesting things. I mean, at the end of the day, it's in the interest of both parties to get Bond 26 out there ASAP, just to get the revenue and just to get the money. But in terms of spin-offs, yeah, I mean, first of all, I would love to see a spin-off of Lashana Lynch's character Naomi. I've always thought, you know, they could do a series which shows how she got it, you know, set between Spectre and No Time to Die. So we, you know, obviously Bond's retired, so we kind of see her, you know, see how she earned a 00 status, and then probably have a series after the death of Bond when she's not 007, but she's somebody else. I mean, I just absolutely loved her character. I absolutely loved how they approached it. I thought it was really clever, but that's for another episode. So yeah, I mean, well, if you haven't seen The Day of the Jackal with Eddie Redmayne and Lashana Lynch, I suggest you watch it now, because that's fucking brilliant. And I just saw that as an extension of her character. You know, she's basically playing the same person. So I just saw this, you know, the day that, you know, you could either see this as an adaptation of Frederick Forsyth's novel, or you could see it as an extension of Naomi. So yeah, I would love to see. I mean, it's not going to happen, but you know, for me, two series, one before, you know, while she was 007, one after, you know, for me. I wouldn't mind a spin-off of Felix. Now, one of the fan favourites, which I think is really good, but I don't think you could be able to pull it off, is for a long time people have been wanting sort of a kind of a TV, you know, 3-part dramas of faithful adaptations of the Fleming novels, filmed set in the correct period, set in the 50s, black and white. Obviously, they can't be 1000% faithful because of some of the dialogue. You would generally have to change them, but even if they did a 3-part adaptation of Moonraker, I think that would make a lot of fans happy, because that is an absolutely fantastic novel. And yeah, it was kind of, you know, the history of that was Fleming did kind of write that as a film, so it could easily be filmed, because Fleming, you know, at the time was wanting to try and get Bond on the screen, even back in 1955, well, before that. So yeah, it kind of, you know, written this and was trying to sell it, but, you know, kind of failed. So yeah, Moonraker, you know, so I mean, whether or not Barbara would eventually allow that, I don't know. But yeah, and it's, I mean, also James Bond Jr. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think the more that's forgotten about in Eon's eyes, the better. But it's, you know, I mean, I never watched it as a kid. It was sort of bit before I was into Bond, so I can't say I've ever noticed it. But I have seen some episodes on YouTube. The quality is directly from VHS, so the quality is not there. Yeah, I mean, it's basically what you would have expected from an early 90s TV kids cartoon. And, you know, but I mean, like, even if, I mean, whether or not, I mean, I don't, I mean, I think, you know, kind of Eon thought, okay, if we, yeah, we better just hide that under the cupboard and just make sure they never find it and never release it. But I don't know why not, because I think, you know, Amazon, you know, just for us hardcore Bond fans, they could easily, you know, digitally remaster them, clean them up, and just have them streamed, you know, because it's still James Bond. I mean, at the, you know, we've still got the films and stuff on there. So, yeah, I'd be quite happy if they actually... So, there is things that they could do, but they've got to do it totally different to how Disney's done it, because you will just fuck the franchise up, and that's obviously what Barbara doesn't want. So yeah, she is very protective because, you know, it is her dad's legacy. So she's extremely, you know, so she knows. I mean, she's a very clever woman. She knows what she's doing. So yeah, no, it was just a food for thought. I was thinking, well, okay, what could happen if Amazon and Eon don't fully get on? You know, could they you know, Amazon, could they just sell, you know, put the shares up and say, look, you know, we're going to sell Bond off, and then it's another studio buys it? Or do you think Barbara will just stand her ground and Amazon will just bow to her, and then just let her do what they do? And then obviously, you know, when Barbara passes, which hopefully should be a long way off yet, will she just, you know, I mean, if Barbara follows her father's footsteps, she'll probably, you know, she's probably got another 15, 20 years before she decides to retire. I mean, look at Mickey G, you know, Mickey G, he's in his 80s, he's now backing down, bless him. So yeah, no, and so yeah, I mean, there's always this possibility, and that's what I kind of like with Bond. But obviously, you know, the possibility of them never solving the issues is obviously something that we don't want to hear, because it's going to delay Bond. But it for me, it's still an interesting conversation piece. So, you know, so yeah, I just say it was a quick episode from The Man from Hildebrand. So yeah, just let me know what you think. You know, will Amazon, you know, eventually sell? Which I don't think they will, because I think, you know, they've obviously bought it, you know, bought MGM for Bond, and then they're going to sell it up because they can't do what they like with it. Or do you think, you know, they will bow out of Barbara, or do you think they will come to an agreement where they'll go, okay, we'll do a Moonraker adaptation, film noir, black and white, Moonraker adaptation, and just, you know, don't have it as a film, just have it as a 3-part series. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be going off a tangent here, but I promise it, yeah, I mean, obviously who you have in Bond in that will be totally different Bond to what's in the film. You've got to keep it separate. This is, and I've always kind of said that, you know, I really like Benedict Cumberbatch. Benedict Cumberbatch as a new Bond, as a modern Bond, no. I think he would work absolutely brilliantly in a film noir. Don't know why, he's just got that bit of a look, but I think in a black and white, I mean, you could just imagine him kind of just behind the wheel of the Bentley, racing Drax in his Mercedes, you know, cutting them grey big paper rolls off the back of the wagon, and then, you know, it's, yeah, there's just something about Benedict Cumberbatch with that kind of film noir kind of look. But I think, again, you know, to make, I think to make it a bit special and unique, I think the Moonraker is probably the one that you could do, and you wouldn't have to change it massively. you know, obviously the Bond fans will realise it was 1955. That's a product of his time. So yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch, I think I'd be quite happy to have as Bond in a 3-part series in Moonraker. If they did that, if they then agreed to do a Felix spin-off, but then again, would the character of Felix, you know, would the actor who played Felix, would he then be an actor, you know, the same actor to play in the films? Yeah, I mean the thing is, I mean, obviously, you know, these films are big. They don't come very often. They used to come a lot recently, you know, 2 years average, but now it's 3 to 4 years. You know, to make these films special, you've got to, you know, little and often. You know, if you do too many spin-offs or diluted, those films are no longer special. You know, it kind of ruins, and I kind of get Barbara on that. So yeah, so no, just let me know what you think on, you know, what could possibly happen if they don't see eye to eye. You know, would they sell the Bond share to another studio, or would, you know, they would finally come to an agreement with Barbara? And do you think Barbara might go, well, actually, yeah, I will allow you to do these spin-offs? But yeah, spin-offs, if you do a 3-part Moonraker adaptation starring Benedict Cumberbatch, I'll be fine with that. Film noir, of course, black and white. And if you did a Lashana Lynch Nomi series, you know, sort of set before the events of No Time to Die and after the No Time to Die events, I'll be happy. The more I kind of think about it with Felix, yeah, that's probably a little bit of a funny one, because again, you know, how many seasons do you do of that? Do you then have a special appearance by Bond? Yeah, I don't know, that's probably a funny one. But anyway, just let me know what you think. So that's it for me. I will return, I'm sure. What other shit I'll talk about in the next one, I don't know, but I've got a few ideas, you know. But yeah, anyway, that's just my thoughts. So